Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Mindflex from Project Inspire. And today we have another exciting session here ahead of us, a live interview with the group that you've come to love and know called the Traveling Hasidim. And it's my great honor to have with us tonight here Rabbi Aryeh Royd. Rabbi Aryeh Royd is the founder of the Traveling Hasidim. And as we go through today and our second part that will be aired tomorrow, we look forward to getting to know Aryeh a little bit better. We look forward to getting to know Chassidim a little bit better and to understand how the Traveling Chassidim, both in concept and group, came to be. Rabbi Aryeh Royd, it's a pleasure having you on with Mindflex.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me, Yossi.
You're very welcome. Okay, so let's get right to it. Rabbi Aryeh, the viewers, some of them have heard you, some of them have really come to love what you guys do. It's spectacular. We'll get to that. But tell us about you. Aryeh, where did you grow up, before you got thrown into this whole, mess of things with the Traveling Hasidim and Project Inspire? How did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. You could say that again, the mess. My life has so wildly changed around. So I was brought up in Manchester, England. I know I'm losing the accent somewhat, but I'll try my best to keep it. So we were brought up in a typical Hasidic home, maybe a little not so typical, because Manchester back in the days wasn't so Hasidic. So most of my friends were not necessarily Hasidic. My brother family are not Hasidic either. My parents sent me to Hasidic schools, but all of my cousins, I don't have any Hasidic blood or Hasidic cousins.
But so, explain to when you say Hasidic blood, the world out there obviously views, Hasidic blood as being like the ultra Orthodox, the maybe even sometimes the extremist view. What does it mean to grow up in a community or in a family of Hasidim in terms of upbringing, which will obviously contrast to your involvement today?
So I see two questions there. First, what do you mean in Hasidic blood? So Yossi, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you have Hasidic blood and I don't.
I have Hasidic blood. That is correct.
That's right. So when I
have Belzer Hasidic blood.
Wow, I don't. The difference is my children do and your children don't have so much anymore. So Hasidic blood would mean, Yossi, where you come from, from the shtetl somewhere in Europe. So your Zaydis, your grandparents, they belong to a Hasidic group. And I don't have any of that. I mean, further back, I do have somewhat, but for the most part, my parents, their parents, they lived in England. Actually, my mother's parents lived in Scotland. We have some Scottish blood. And before that was also England, some of non-Hasidic, ultra-Orthodox, but non-Hasidic. And further back, there were some Hasidic blood, but that wasn't much of our upbringing. Therefore, all of my cousins are not. They're being brought up in the ultra Orthodox world and the Hasidic world. Again, I reiterate, in Manchester, when I was growing up, it wasn't like we would have like Borough Park today and you only know of Hasidim and your neighbors only Hasidim. And when they go out of town, they go to Williamsburg, which is also Hasidim. So Manchester was different, and my friends and classmates weren't only Hasidic, but still my upbringing was the warmth of a Hasidic family, which means, the longer davenings and singing and dancing, and the herring and the kechel after davening, and long Shabbos meals, which are not just strictly, Shabbos dinner, Shabbat dinner, with a song or two, but much more singing and much more food.
Right. Would it be fair to say that it was that in general the Hasidic upbringing is sort of a close-knit community of living within your quarters and not necessarily the type to notice, get involved with, interact with outside, groups beyond that?
Absolutely. As in the facts today. Ideology, no. That means the ideology the philosophy of Hasidism was certainly not that. But today, yeah, absolutely. After the war, people would come to America or England, and we were so few in number So we had to keep it small and keep it safe, not small necessarily, but keep it safe. So yes, we were certainly, and Hasidim for the most part are certainly much more in the box closed, so that the, things from the street shouldn't, elements from the bad elements, from the street shouldn't come in or penetrate our lives. And yes, absolutely, we were closed up in this a big thick wall, not to see the world out there.
Excellent. So, and that I guess goes with the stereotype, sort of how people view the Hasidic sects of Judaism, is that you have your community, you have your shops, you have your synagogues, you have your social circles, and really that's it. Not necessarily the type who would be involved in reaching out beyond their communities to Jews around them necessarily.
Correct.
Okay, Rabbi, I'm going to stop you here because we actually have your brother, Rabbi Yisrael Royd, with us here, who's going to join us. And now that we know that you've joined, that the background that you come from, we're gonna double team in terms of being able to get Rabbi Yisrael Royd and Rabbi Aryeh Royd. Welcome, Rabbi Yisrael Royd, to our conversation here about the traveling Hasidim.
Shalom Aleichem. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Happy to have you. So I want to go right into what I guess is the crux of the conversation over here, which is that, Aryeh explained you grew up in a very, sort of a tight-knit community, and Hasidim in general are known to be in their tight-knit communities of, and the sects and the, around them, and the shuls, the synagogues that you pray in, the shops that you shop in. Yet today you guys run one of the most profound, exciting, and dynamic outreach organizations called the Traveling Hasidim. Before we get to what you guys do and the impact that you've had, tell us a little bit about your involvement and how you guys got involved. And I'll ask you first, Rabbi Yisrael Roy. We'll go back to you, Rabbi Aryeh Roy, in terms of your involvement. Like, how did this get started?
So we were interested in it, but without knowing how to. We did take the training by Project Inspire, and that really gave us the push with the knowledge and the tools as well. Now, the fact that we are Hasidim, so we do know that there's unfortunately some major illusional barriers between the world and us. With a misconception that we have the barriers. So the fact that we are so open and friendly to the outside world, this, without doing any care whatsoever, number one, just breaks the barriers. Hey, the Hasidim, they're not stone throwers, they're actually friendly, normal guys. And that, without knowing any care, this itself is the best work.
Okay, so excellent. So I'm going to put this back at you, Aryeh, because while your brother Yisrael is explaining is 100% true, and we know it to be true, but you had to expect that entering this realm that people were going to view you guys as sort of like, what in the world do you feel, how in the world do you feel that you could contribute to this field on any level?
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It wasn't so simple at all. And we did feel that, who are we? And as my brother so eloquently said, we're viewed as stone throwers sometimes, unfortunately. So we had to break through that within ourselves. It's a calling we have, although you mentioned, Yossi, that Hasidim in general are in the closed-knit community and closed off to the outside world. We belong to the Belz sect of Hasidim, Belzer Hasidim, and our leader, our rabbi, the Belzer Rabbi, he actually encourages outreach. And although the Hasidim look the same, and we all still have our tight-knit community, but he talks about it a lot. So about going out, reaching out to brothers and sisters out there. So we have to overcome that. But when you're asking what could we add, what we could add is, I think, and Project Inspire taught us this a lot, that many times people want to connect. Two Jews meet each other, they want to connect, but there's this barrier because they will probably not accept us. So now if there's someone, no offense, Yossi, but someone like you're out there and you say hello to someone who is distanced or not so connected to Judaism, they'll say, oh, he looks more or less like us. He does have a yarmulke on his head. He looks more or less. So why not? So he's nice. He accepts me. He's not one of those ultra-Orthodox. But the real Jews, the ultra-Orthodox, the Hasidim, they'll never accept us because we're so different. So we thought we have that a little more than someone else. Because if we could just go out there and be nice and friendly and accept everyone with love, subconsciously there's this, the impact is so much stronger that even the Chassidim view us as human beings, and be as Jews and as literally brothers and sisters. That's what we noticed could have an impact. And over 10 years doing this, we saw, wow, it does have an impact when they say, wow, we accept it.
It's amazing you're pointing that out, and what's coming to my mind over here, Yisrael, is that it's almost your responsibility. And what I mean to say is, when people are approached by you, and I know you, and I know both of you for a long time now, and I know that there's no Jew that I would like to introduce another Jew to than the two of you. But realize, when you approach people, do you feel that sort of there's a responsibility of, like, if they can figure out how to connect to me, then they'll view Jews and religious Jews in general in better light and want to connect to them as well. Your thoughts on that, Yisrael?
Absolutely. But as Aryeh just said, it works so easily by the saying, I don't even have to think. They see that I'm not even thinking twice. Is he my brother? Are we the same type or not? No, it's so just part of me that he is my brother equally. The fact that I wear different types of clothing or my parents raised me different doesn't make me the slightest different than him. He sees that it takes a second, and then we just continue from there onwards.
Right. And so you're saying it's the brothership and that connection, when the recognition sort of off the bat, knowing that we're brothers, that's that connection, from the beginning.
The brotherhood, and then he sees the joy in the Hasidim. That is a second step that we do.
Well, we're gonna get to what the Hasidim sort of brought to this, but Aryeh, Rav Noach Weinberg obviously was the founder of Eshet Torah. And he was the, sort of the inspiration of many, many Jews who came closer to Judaism, and some of them became religious Jews and have families and even grandchildren, some great-grandchildren today as well. He wasn't necessarily the inspiration of the religious community until sort of Project Inspire brought that to light within the religious community. But somehow you connected with that in a very strong way. Tell us about that.
Boy, did I connect with a holy rabbi, Rabbi Noach Weinberg, blessed memory. So
I even have a son called Noach, named after him. He is our inspiration.
So tell us what that connection was like, Ari.
So I actually teach now, on a daily basis. I teach in seminaries and I teach all over. Really, I teach what he taught me. So it was like epiphany. I learned, as we discussed before, I was in the Hasidic world and I learned in the Hasidic yeshivas, and I was doing pretty well, if I may say. That was strictly intellectual study, learning. I had a connection with the Torah. I was studying, but I don't have to say this on a kosher way. How much of that connected me to my inner soul? How much of that connected me to my God? Is it my personal relationship to the Almighty, or is it I'm a good Jew? I keep Shabbat. I eat kosher. I study the Talmud. Is it me? Is it my Torah? Is it my God? Is it my soul I'm in touch with? And it was Project Inspire that got me to hear his Torah a bit. And I listened to a class or two of his, and I was blown away.
What message per se was it that got into your very being?
As we say in Yiddish, and my kishkas, my beans. Two things, or really three things. Number one, it's truth. That means he pushed a lot that message, how truthless the Torah is and how it's possible to prove every aspect of Torah and Judaism is true. So that was good. That wasn't yet the home run. It was good. I was happy to hear that you can ask any question and there are answers. We don't believe in blind faith. Judaism isn't a religion of faith. We know the answers. That's true. So I like that a lot. Resonated. What I liked more was his idea of Torah's Chaim, which means instructions for living. You cannot live without instructions. You buy a camera, it comes with a user's manual. If you want to fly a Boeing 747, you're not just going to read the user's manual. You're going to go to flying school and sit with a flying instructor until you're comfortable. Life is slightly more complicated than flying a Boeing 747, and we need a user's manual. And the Torah is our guide, and that's what he taught me. He taught me that it's our life, and if you want to have a happy marriage, great relationship to your children, and anything else, you got to follow the user's manual. Make sure this is your life. That's number 2. Number 3 is the joy in Judaism, which is, Rav Noach was my rabbi, still is. He didn't teach me to dance. It wasn't part of it. We'll get to the Hasidim too. But the idea of Judaism isn't about, you better do this or there's consequences. It's not about heaven or hell. It's about, this is your pleasure. Judaism is all about, it's my greatest pleasure to have a deep, meaningful, intimate relationship with the Almighty. So it's not just I have to, and it's true, but it's pleasure. And once I started feeling that, we felt a moral obligation. Like, unfortunately, people don't know, A, that it's true, and B, that's fun, it's pleasure. There's no greater pleasure of a great relationship with Hashem.
I'm going to ask you, before I get to you, so I'm going to ask you a very funny question. Did you ever meet Rav Noach Weinberg?
Never met.
And yet sitting right behind you is a picture on your wall of Rav Noach Weinberg, a blessed memory, who obviously had a tremendous impact on your life. I never met
him. I only heard about him about a year before he passed away, and I tried once. He was very unwell, and but yeah, I never met him. But doesn't go by a day which I don't talk about him.
Amazing. Yisrael,
I actually did meet him once.
Good, tell us about it.
But then when I met him, I was involved in Kiruv, and I knew that Reb Noach was a big Kiruv professional and the leader of Kiruv. I wasn't yet a student of his, but it was a major honor for me that I met him. And afterwards, I became a Talmud of his, a student of his, unfortunately after his death, but he's living with us. Every day, we're growing with him. I have next to, in my desk, next to my Sepharim, his will, his last will, that is, which is one of the most important messages I have from Reb Noach, that since Torah is our life, I'm going to focus more on the second thing, which Ari was saying, more about Torah's instruction for our living. This is the most amazing lifestyle based on everything in the Torah. The Torah is going to teach me about happiness, marriage, love, relationships, education, anything, growth, everything is from the Torah. And then the second step, which is really what Reb Noach taught us, is it's my obligation to continue this. God gave me the instruction book. I'm extremely fortunate that my parents raised me this way. And I'm extremely fortunate that Project Inspire helped me find Reb Noach, which taught me that this is our life and this is our being. So now it's our responsibility, and the world needs my work and my brother's work and everyone's.
So here you guys are. You're inspired by Rav Noach Weinberg's message. You've internalized his worldview. You've understood that taking Torah as an instruction book for living and being able to pass on that message to those who maybe didn't grow up with this as their instruction book for living. And you decide out of the blue, or was it out of the blue, to create this group called the Traveling Hasidim, this crazy idea. Ari, tell us about how this idea came to be, how you dragged your brother along for the ride and made him, sort of your partner in crime in this.
So it wasn't like a one moment flash idea. Let's Traveling Hasidim. I must say, Rabbi Samson was a lot behind, again, not Traveling Hasidim, but he didn't leave me alone. I went to many of his classes, and he knew that I'm warming up to this whole Kiruv idea, outreach. And he was like, "No, Rabbi Aryeh, what are you doing?" I don't know. I'm smiling to my neighbors. Well, you got to do something more. And it was always that. Maybe it was like guilt. I was embarrassed to meet him again, and I had to do something. We were always coming up with ideas. And actually, my partner, as you'll see, I think is coming on soon. Eli Bennett, we used to knock on doors in our areas, like Hanukkah time, where we saw a menorah in the window. I went with my brother too, actually, in Hanukkah. We would hand out Hanukkah gifts. We tried to do bits and pieces of things. Anyway, when the moment came, I was actually in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, with one of the rabbis of Esher Torah that were teaching the Discovery Seminar, which is the seminar which teaches all the proofs to prove God's existence, Torah is divine, and all that. And I was following along, learning the material, which I wanted to be a lecturer too. And I was sitting in the audience. Now, this audience was a secular audience, or less affiliated. The rabbi was an Orthodox rabbi, and he brought in the Discovery Seminar. And I was sitting in the audience. The rabbi of the synagogue came over to me and he said, "You seem to be familiar with the speaker or the material. I just want to share with you that I don't think this material or the seminar is going to do much for my community. It's not going to shake my community. People are going to walk out of here saying, that was beautiful. Wow, it's amazing. You can prove it. Nobody's going to change their life around because of it." So I said, okay, that's a positive compliments. What can I do? He says, you know what we need? We just need to bring in some Hasidim to sing and dance. This is his idea. He said, we just need to have some Hasidim, some warmth, and show them the beauty of Shabbos. I said, I'm game. I'm coming to your community.
Where do I sign up?
That's right. So he, I said, no, I'd love to come to you. And he said, I gave him my name, and he said, okay, so let's be in touch. I gave him my name. He said, I'm never going to remember this name. So he said, he put me down in his contacts as traveling Chassidim. So we'll stay in touch. Okay. So he put me down in his contacts as the traveling Chassidim. I said, okay. I mean, well, simple name. If I'm a chassid, I'm coming to him, I'm traveling to him, I guess traveling Chassidim work. I actually forgot about that incident. No, well, I put it in the back of my mind. Cool, maybe I'll go with a few of my friends to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. A week after I met him, Esher Torah ran their yearly convention weekends. Now, since I was really getting involved in Kirov, I went to that weekend. I went with a couple of my friends, Eli Bennett and a few of my friends. And we spent Shabbos in a hotel with Esher Torah. Now, no offense, there wasn't too much singing there. It was beautiful Shabbos, but Esher Torah there wasn't so much singing over that Shabbos. So we as Hasidim, Friday night after the lectures, we took one table and we sat and sang. We just sang like for an hour straight. We enjoyed ourselves. So there's a guy walking past. He says, this sounds so geschmack, as we say, so great, so beautiful. He says, I'm a rabbi in Philadelphia. Actually, an Aish rabbi in Philadelphia. And, this will be so beautiful if you come to our community and just do what you're doing. Just do that. Come to my community and sing. I said, yeah, with the traveling Hasidim, we're going to Wilkes-Barre in 3 weeks from now. We do this. So he says, are you available perhaps next week already? I said, I'll speak to my secretary. I'll get back to you. So we actually got back to him and I said, there's availability. So we actually went to Philadelphia before we got to Wilkes-Barre. So that next Shabbos was a Shabbos Chanukah. It was just had the 11th anniversary. 11 years ago, Shabbos Chanukah went to Philadelphia. A week after that, I think it was 2 weeks after that, we went to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. By then, we were veterans. We knew how to do it. And we were planned. We had a group. So I got my group of friends. I said, we got to go to Philadelphia for Shabbos. What's going to be? No clue. We're just going to Philadelphia for Shabbos. We're going to do what we do at home. We're going to sing and dance.
Yisrael, tell us what it is. You come to Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. You show up on the shores. I'm sure the eyes were bulging on this group of yours. What's your take? What was the impact that you guys ended up having on that weekend?
I was blown away right from the beginning. I didn't know what to expect. I come in, ponytails, all types, yes kippahs, no kippahs, and even though I like to be, I like to welcome people, but then I was still new in it. I had to bite my lips and going up to people, hi, shalom, and introducing myself. Yes, what do you want? I got some of those responses. I came to enjoy Shabbat together with you. And so that's how we started our Friday night. A few cold shaloms to them, Shabbat shalom. But slowly but surely, the Hasidim themselves, we cooled off. We were getting more relaxed, and we're breaking the ice together. And that's how we started off the Kabbalah Shabbat. Exactly what songs to sing, we didn't really know. We tried a thing. Now, our Chazan had never sang before in such an audience. He didn't really know the Nosef, but it was nice. And we danced. And then by the meal, started breaking through, and the older people there, as I said, with the ponytails or without the kibbas, and they just started singing along with us. It became a nice, friendly movement. And slowly but surely, we are seeing how much the world needs it. And there's nothing to be afraid of the Chassidim. We don't have to be afraid of ponytails or no head coverings or short sleeves by the other side of the no mechitza. We're just all brothers and sisters, happy together, and we just clicked. Towards the end of Shabbos, they were already telling us you better come back next year. Now let me fast forward it. Half of the community in the Wilkes-Barre were upset at the rabbi. You're bringing the Hasidim into our community. Real treason. You're corrupting society. And they didn't come. 50% of the community didn't come. The following year, when we went back to the same place, I saw many new faces. And they told me last year I was upset at the rabbi for bringing Hasidim. Right after Shabbos, I heard all along how much I missed it. I made sure to be here now.
Wow. And I guess that gives you a feeling of, you really broke down the barriers that you thought maybe not even possible, or that other people thought not possible. Ari, what did that give you in terms of inspiration of like, we can continue to do this?
So my brother answered on the Wilkes-Barre experience. That was our second Shabbos. Our first one I was at, and I had mixed feelings, because part of being brought up in the Hasidic close-knit community, the only pets we have are more children, okay? So when I got to Philadelphia the first time, as I said, we had no clue what's going on. We knocked on the door. My wife was next to me. I had a couple of kids. I don't remember how many I had then, 10 years ago. And the first welcome was barking from behind the door. And my wife looks at me, who came up with this idea of traveling Chassidim? So there was dogs in the house that first Shabbos. Now, no offense to all the dog lovers, which personally, by now, my family loves dogs because we've stayed in so many houses that have. So it was interesting. We weren't used to it. And I was like, we were slightly uncomfortable. But over Shabbos, when we saw how the message resonates, we weren't kiruv professionals. We just sat in shul and synagogue, and over the Shabbaton, we were singing and getting to know people. It resonated. People were afraid, as my brother would say. Initially, there's this distance, but it resonated that we are family. And I said, if that works, we're going to do this every week, because we just need to share that message of brotherhood and love and unity.
Amazing. Yisrael, there are many people who want to share Judaism with others. They do. And but here you were faced with a situation where you weren't only sharing Judaism, you were sharing the feeling of Hasidus and the feeling of what you had inside of you with others. When did you realize that was something that you can get people to connect to?
One Shabbos, it was in some place in Maryland, and after Shabbos, this lady came up to me. She told me that when we came, she was very upset. Chassidim, judgmental. So the whole Shabbos is going to be busy. What clothing am I wearing? What I'm eating? Did I make a bracha or not? And they're going to be busy with this. I enjoyed the Shabbos. By the end of Shabbos, I realized I was the only judgmental person over there. The Chassidim, they're non-judgmental. So this is definitely step number one, how we look at our brothers and sisters. If we're judging them, why are they acting like this? You've lost before you start giving your sermon. If you show them that we're equal brothers and sisters, we are all on the same page. We're all living in God's world. We're all growing together. We all have to spread God's word from wherever we are. If I began from born and raised Hasidic, as my brother says, BFB, bells from birth, which I was not bells from birth. I was non-Hasidic from birth, but we grew up Hasidic, spreading the word from where we're holding. Or a person which is totally as unaffiliated, but he just knows about God. Okay, if you know that God created the world, spread it, and don't judge someone who doesn't know about God. And that is our ultimate message. We're all brothers and sisters. There's no judging each other, just loving each other.
Amazing. I know, Yisrael. I know that we borrowed you for more time than you anticipated. I know that you're going to teach a class, and I'm going to continue with Aryeh, and we have Rabbi Eli Beneth who's going to join us as well. But I want to thank you so much, not only for joining us here, but for everything that you do and continue to do. And my blessing to you is that the world gets back on its feet quick enough for you guys to start traveling again and making a tremendous impact on communities.
Amen, amen. And thanks to you, it was in the merit of Yosef Friedman, Project Inspire, and Isha Torah that we're able to do our work. Keep up your good work. Hatzlacha.
Good to see you, brother.
Thank you, Yisrael. Go ahead. Keep inspiring people.
Thank you.